Monster Hunter Wilds has a lot of monsters, and with so many monsters comes a lack of appreciation of each of the uniqueness of them. Obviously, people have favorites, and some are more appealing than others, but all of them have some interesting info that I found out when I was researching for this video. I bet most of this info I will tell you would come as a complete shock, or maybe it won't even make that much of a difference, but at least you will see the hard work from Capcom on how much thought process goes into making every single monster. Talking about all of them in one video would take forever, so I just want to talk about the apex monsters Raidao, Uthduna, New Udra, and Jin Dahad. I will make more of these videos, and probably in the future make a master video of it for people to enjoy it all in one sitting. Well, without further ado, let's get started. Raidao is by far my most favorite monster in the game. It has an amazing musical theme, interesting sound design for how it roars, and is just one of the coolest monsters in the game. Raidao is the apex monster of the Windward Plains, meaning they are at the top of the food chain. They are a large bipedal wyvern covered in bony golden scales, as well as smaller black scales on its underbelly, joints, and wings. Bipedal means that it walks on two legs, and I know a lot of people don't know this, but there is a difference between a dragon and a wyvern. The biggest difference is that dragons have 4 legs and wings, while wyvern has only 2 legs and wings. But Raidao's uniqueness first comes in how its wings are composed. Usually, most winged creatures have multiple parts in their wings called digits, like fingers of a human, but Raidao has only one single membrane for its wing, like a pterosaur. Take a look at the picture of the differences. You can see a pterosaur has one membrane that stretches the whole wing. A bird has a bunch of feathers creating a wing, and a bat has bones split up into multiple membranes to create wings. You can even see this difference in the Rathalos as well, with obvious sections probably consisting of bone splitting up multiple membranes like a bat. Raidao's wings also have blade-like protrusions which can be used as weapons. Enough about the wings though. One of Raidao's most defining features is its horns. These horns are able to move inwards, creating a small pocket where you can channel electricity similarly to how a railgun would work. You can see in the image that Raidao doesn't naturally have blue tips to its wings or tail, but actually becomes a part of him after he uses electricity to make the sand around his wings and tail crystallize from the heat, creating blue fulgurite crystals. These crystals are also super cool, as Kunafa Village, located in Windward Plains, uses these crystals to make chimes that can create similar sounds to Raidao. These monsters are highly territorial, and will attack any and all intruders on sight. I could keep going about Raidao, but we got some other apex monsters to talk about. Uthduna is a very weird monster. It's a fish that is in the middle of evolving into a lizard, kind of. I don't even know myself. But Uthduna is a massive 4-legged fish lizard thing. God, I'm just gonna call it a lizard. I don't care anymore if it's not biologically correct. I say it's fish-like as it seems heavily based on the Arapaima fish. The Arapaima fish is a massive fish that lives inside of the Amazon forest, almost like the Scarlet Forest of Monster Hunter Wilds. Its scales can be a wide variety of colors, but they are very similar in color to Uthduna, and if we look at the shape of its head, it is pretty darn similar as well. This might also relate to Uthduna as well, as the Arapaima fish is actually an air-breathing fish, so it needs to go up to the surface ever so often to get some air. It is really cool to see that the designers of these monsters take into consideration living and non-living creature structures when creating monsters for us in the game. It would take countless hours of researching just so they can be more realistic and overall make sense, which I find amazing. But anyways, back to Uthduna. These monsters' most recognizable feature is their translucent and watery fins around its whole body made of water and mucus. These fins help protect Uthduna from damage and also have a thin skeletal-like structure that keeps it into place. Once these fins are destroyed, Uthduna appears to be a big fat lizard that still has some streamlined features that help it swim easily in the water. Even though Uthduna is big, it can still move pretty quickly in the water, and has the ability to leap out of the water to belly flop anything in its way. Its body is so big that it creates waves after it hits the water, making it more difficult to get an attack when it's recovering. This monster I had the most fun researching, as the obvious relation to the Arapaima fish was a cool little side adventure I normally don't do. So yeah, as the title suggests, New Udra is a six-armed octopus. I mean, we can maybe count the 2 arms in front of its mouth as the last 2 for 8, but I don't think those can be considered arms. I'm saying arms instead of tentacles because technically octopus don't have tentacles, they have arms, and they usually have 8. So what is the reason for New Udra to have 6? I have no idea. It could be because of easier programming, animations, or just design, because I feel like it would be pretty hard to make an 8-armed monster. 6 is already a lot of arms to pay attention to. But anyways, New Udra. What a fascinating monster to have. New Udra actually has dark green skin, but since it is covered in oil basically all the time, it appears black. It can ignite this oil in order to be a massive monster that is on fire. The coolest part about New Udra is the bioluminescent blue eye stalks and glowing spots on its limbs. These spots act as sensory organs, as New Udra is actually a mostly blind monster and uses these organs in order to detect everything around it. If you didn't know, octopuses can actually dig into the ground to ambush fish and escape, which New Udra can also do. New Udra is mostly a passive monster but becomes aggressive during the firestorm to hunt for food like the Agericon. That is basically all the info I have of New Udra, but wait, there's still more I would like to talk about that designers did, which was very clever. The weapon aids of New Udra all come from the word octopus in a different language. Kraka, German, Pulpo, Spanish, Osminog, Russian, Pueza, Swahili, Zhuangyi, Mandarin Chinese, Hobonice, Czech, Muno, Korean. Mind my pronunciation, but this is so clever and just a little bit of fun design that the designers thought about. One last thing about not New Udra, but the place it lives. You have probably went into the lower parts of the oil basin and seen these very square metal rock things, and maybe you thought this was probably super imaginative, and these types of rocks don't exist. But actually, cubic rocks do exist, and I have even seen these types of rocks in person when I went to the National Museum in Washington, DC. These rocks are probably still artificial, but this reminds me a lot of pyrite. Sometimes, pyrite can be very cubic when formed, and the way pyrite form is from multiple reasons, and one reason is existing iron-rich minerals can be transformed into pyrite through high temperature and pressure. Obviously, this isn't pyrite, but it just made me think about how this isn't a far-off design from real life in some cases. All I could say is that nature is so fascinating. I never really got super into biology or ecology or geology, but if you look just that much deeper, you can see how extremely complicated all these fields are and how much information and wonder the world has on this small little planet we call Earth. Jindahad is one of the biggest monsters ever. Sure, there have been bigger ones like Zora Magdaros, but can we even consider Zora a monster we fight? In my opinion, no. But back to Jindahad. This monster is an enormous long serpentine-like monster with 4 limbs. Most of its body is completely surrounded with these bronze metallic plates. It uses its massive body as a heatsink, shunting heat to the coppery metallic parts on its body to drastically lower the body temperature of it and things around it. It uses this technique in a variety of ways to attack people by letting off cold air under its body, shooting ice beams, and even doing a massive icy explosion of ice and steam to blow hunters away. One cool thing that Jindahad does with this technique is being able to climb up vertically onto any surface by freezing its legs to cling to the wall. This makes it the perfect apex monster for the Ice Shard Cliffs, as many of the structures float around with no ability to platform unless you can wall run like Jindahad. Since Jindahad is so big, no monster can stand in its way, and it becomes most aggressive when the inclemency is happening in the Ice Shard Cliffs. This monster is also one of the most unique monsters because, at least in Wild so far, it is the only monster with multiple phases, have no turf wars, and has its own battleground to fight in. I like how, again, the designers try to make the game more realistic with these little details. Copper is a really good heat conductor, and who knows how Jinha does it in his body, but it at least makes a little sense as being a heatsink. You can see even on multiple occasions during the fight that he starts glowing orange or red because of the massive heat being stored in his body. So those were all the Apex monsters in Monster Hunter Wilds, and from this video I have learned a lot about how much work goes into making such amazing monsters. They needed to research real-life biology, ecology, and geology to make a vast, interesting world with a sprinkle of fiction to make it an amazing game to play. Not only that, they also take a bunch of time researching how they name their monsters and their weapons to add a little bit of an Easter egg everywhere you look. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. I hope to do more of these Monster Hunter in-depth videos on all of the monsters. If you would like to share something cool you learned about Monster Hunter, please leave a comment. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.